Thank you. This video is brought to you by Quest Microsystems. Quest Microsystems, get the link in the description section. A less lethal munition. We call it the low energy cartridge that will be available soon at the 2022 SHOT Show. I'll be there. I'll be signing my books. You guys will be able to have access to this less lethal munition. It comes in handgun, rifle, shotgun, all of the above. So you can have dynamic experience in your home personal defense. And I guarantee you that this is going to be one of the premier weapons of choice for military and police all over the country. All over the country. Why do you say that, Mr. Tatum? Because if anybody that know anything about semi-munition rounds or the pepper ball gun, the same person who invented the pepper ball gun and semi-munition rounds that's used all over the world. His name is David Luxton, and he's the chair member of Quest Microsystems, and he has developed this munition as well. So I'm telling you, I don't know what you want to do with your investment opportunities, or you want to get this for your own home personal defense, or you're a police chief or sheriff that want to implement this on your police department. It's a publicly traded company. Link is in the description section. Do what you want to do with it. Before I lose my mind, let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the bell so you get notifications. Every chance I get to promote somebody, let me put my other earphone on. Every chance I get to promote somebody who's blasting CRT, blasting Black Lives Matter, who happen to be intelligent and very educated on the subject matter, I love to put that person's information out and do a review of that video. So Mr. Derrick Wilburn is another individual. He's clearly a conservative. I did a little research on him. Not a lot. I just read a little bio. So he's not some average Joe, somebody's daddy just hanging around the block. This is a legitimate person who's an established conservative. So, but I want you to listen to what he had to say in support of the American dream, the American experience, in objection to the CRT movement and also this anti-white, hyper-racist culture that we've been involved in. And I love the fact that he came out and said what he said. I'm not going to speak for him. I want you to hear it from the man's mouth himself. Without further ado, roll the film.
I'd like to begin my comments tonight by reading a quote, which in essence is the genesis of all of this Black Lives Matter, social justice, CRT.
So just so you know, they told him to stand up if they agree with what he had to say. So as a show of solidarity. Another comment I want to make before we get into this deeply is that I love when I see a man who's articulate. And if you got a Southern accent, that don't count. I'm just saying you articulate, meaning that you speak well. You take, pride in, articulating your words. Take pride in enunciating your words. You just come off as intelligent and respectable and believable. So let me roll the film.
Conversations we're having in our country today. Quote, I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color, close quote. Colin Kaepernick, August 2016. I am the direct descendant of the North American slave trade. Both my parents are black, all 4 of my grandparents are black, all 8 of my great-grandparents, all 16 of my great-greats.
So you can't say to my Uncle Tom Coon sell out, you working for the white man. He just said his generations of people who come from the Atlantic slave trade, it doesn't appear that I thought it was mixed, but according to his articulation of his family tree, he's not mixed with anything. He's probably one of the most purest descendants that you're going to find out there. So, roll the film.
On my mother's side, my ancestors were enslaved in Alabama. On my father's side, we were enslaved in Texas. I am not oppressed. I'm not oppressed, and I'm not a victim. I'm neither oppressed nor a victim. I travel all across this country of ours.
So do I.
And I check into hotels, and I fly commercially, and I walk into retail establishments, and I order food in restaurants. I go wherever I want, whenever I want. I am treated with kindness, dignity, and respect, literally from coast to coast.
Same with me. Same with me. I just spoke at JailCon 2021. I was in New Orleans. I just came from Tennessee. I fly all over the country. I've probably been in over 40 states, spoke in over 30 plus universities. I speak all over the country. I travel almost everywhere in the United States of America. I go to restaurants when I go out. I'm in the airport. I go out to eat. In most of these places where I speak at, I have been treated with the utmost respect. I've never experienced racism or anybody who was even racially insensitive insensitive to me while I was out traveling around.
I have 3 children. They are not oppressed either, although they are victims. I've taught my children they are victims of 3 things: their own ignorance, their own laziness, and their own poor decision making. That is all. My children,
I'm going to use that in my speech one day.
we are not victims of America. We are not victims of some unseen 190-year-old force that kind of floats around in the ether. Putting critical race theory into our classrooms is taking our nation in the wrong direction. Racism in America would by and large be dead today if it were not for certain people and institutions keeping it on life support.
100%. I say it every time. And y'all know I got to keep breaking up the video and doing commentary because they'll ban it if I played this all the way through. This gentleman has, this is on his YouTube channel, so they'll ban it. However, look at all this racism that's going on. Look at all this racism. See all these white people supporting this black man? This is the problem with our nation today, is that people do not want to acknowledge this. Why would any of these people, if the country is so racist, would they support a black man? Racism means that you do not like black people because of their race, that you have a racial bias or prejudice against another person, which you are expounding upon. You are expressing through action. But these people are supporting this gentleman. Why? Because he's telling the truth. Has nothing to do with racism.
And sadly, very sadly, one of those institutions is the American education system. I can think of nothing more damaging to a society than to tell a baby born today that she has grievances against another baby born today simply because of what their ancestors may have done 2 centuries ago.
And that's a big if, or what they may have done. 60%, and I heard this statistic from a very reputable person, which I believe. If you don't believe me, you think it's not right, look it up for yourself. 60% of most white Americans who are in this country migrated here after slavery. So you have a huge portion of people whose ancestry do not link to American slavery. Then you have the ancestry of a lot of us being mixed in general. I have white people in my family tree. So I'm mixed up somewhere, somehow. And just because I look more black don't mean I don't have an ancestry of potential slave owners in my family tree. So if I want to go back and have a grievance, I have to have a grievance of my own bloodline, my own lineage. These are the things that I feel like become critically confused when it comes to people trying to hold a burden on people hundreds of years ago. Because most of us have no idea where we even come from. We just assume because I'm black that I'm automatically associated as a descendant of slaves directly. My people may have migrated here after slavery. I mean, I don't know. I have to look it up. But when you put it all in perspective, unless you actually know your ancestry, which probably 80% of people in this country really don't know the depths of it, you can't just go off the color of somebody's skin. Every white person don't come from the same background. It's not like every white person is the white race. Some people are Irish, Scottish. They come from places in Europe. Some people come from South Africa. I mean, you got white people that come from everywhere. Just like there's black people that are in this country that are black Americans. You have people who are black Africans. You got Haitians. You got Dominicans. You got Jamaicans. You got people that come from all different places, and we all different. Just because you black, I ain't never been to Jamaica. That is an entire culture and a perspective that I don't share. I'm an American. I've never been to Africa. People that come from Africa is very different. They have a very different life experience. Just because our skin is the same don't mean we come from the same place. Roll the film.
There is simply no point in doing that to our children. And putting critical race theory into our classrooms in part does that. Putting critical race theory into our classrooms is not combating racism. It's fanning the flames of what little embers are left. I encourage you to support this resolution. Let racism die the death it deserves, and let's keep living the life of the country that we are. Thank you.
I wish we had a president that will say this. I wish we had a president that would say this. And I'll say this and I'm done. And shout out to Derrick Wilburn. I never met him before, but I think he spoke at one of the same conferences I spoke at. Racism in America is literally on life support. Literally. We're waiting for the people of America to say, it's time. Just pull the plug. Just pull the plug. Because let me explain this to you guys. There's a difference between somebody being racist and doing something racist. There's a big difference there. A person can internalize the fact that they hate black people. And now, if they never express that, they never do anything about what they feel, then what does it matter? What a person feel on the inside. There are people, and I have to pray about this often, there are people that I would love to knock unconscious. And you guys will figure out a few of those people. One is suing my wife, and other people they talk reckless online. However, just because I want to do that, which I pray about it all the time because I want to be a man of God, but I'm keeping it real. Some people make you want to lose your salvation. But just because I may feel like that, and I'm working on it on the inside, don't mean I'm going to actually do that. It's not a crime for me to feel like I want to knock somebody out who have been incredibly disrespectful to me and my wife. It's not a crime to feel that way. Now, it's a crime if I just go knock the guy out when I see him. There's a difference. Now, you can harbor stuff inside internally, pray about it, let God deliver you from that. And I don't have a problem with a person that may still hold a burden against white people or against black people. But the key to success is that you have to slow down and think about it and say, before I act on this rationale that I've created in my mind, is it stimulating from a reasonable source? If I feel animosity against white people, is it legitimized? And if it's not, you hold that right there. You pray about that and let God deliver you from it. You ain't got to lie about it. You ain't got to lie to yourself. There is many reasons why people don't like each other. Some of them could be valid in your own perspective. Let me give an example because, people try to use my clips all the time to say I hate black people and all this stuff. What I'm saying is that if you grew up and you were a white kid in an all-black neighborhood and you got bullied every day and they called you derogatory names and they beat you up and your only experience with black people have been negative. Or if you grew up black in a white community and they call you the N-word and they treat you poorly and you feel discriminated against and your only experiences with white people were negative, it is reasonable to believe that you're going to grow up with a negative perception, although that's not the sum of white people or black people, but you're going to grow up feeling that way. I had a guy that told me that he used to feel some type of way about black people because he was from England, but he was saying that a group of English thugs who were black beat and killed his father in front of him. So he harbored this emotional experience of not liking black people, in which the black people in England are different than in America, but he didn't like black people when he was in England and growing up. So people have their reasons. I'd say this, man, I love everybody. I do not like what people do. So I hate what some people do, although I love them, I hate what they do. The reason why I can love you and hate what you do, because you can always change. There's no reason for me to say I hate you as a person, and I hate you as a person, because when you change, now I got to not hate you. It's reasonable to say I love you, but I don't like what you do at all. I can't stand you, and I hope you reap what you sow. That's a valid point. Now let me express this, and I'm being honest as I can. I have begun to dislike more and more as years go on certain types of black people and white people. I have grown to dislike it. I don't want to be around. I don't want to talk to. I don't want to associate with certain people who are black and certain people who are white. And many of these people typically are these far left liberal lunatics, or these black folks that are social justice warriors that they can't even have a conversation with you if you don't support a Democrat. They can't have a conversation with you if you don't think the whole world is racist, even though you've never had that experience, or you've never had that learned experience, or have that personal experience. I don't want to talk around these people. People sagging their pants and walking around with gold teeth in their mouth. I don't like what they do. I don't want to be around that. I don't want to be around it on a consistent basis. I'll come to you and tell you, hey, let me give you some solutions to the problem. Pull your doggone pants up and act like you got some sense. I'll come and tell you that. give you a message of hope. But I don't like hanging around people like that. I don't like hanging around people that do drugs. I don't like hanging around people that sell drugs. I don't want to be around people who cheat on their wives. I don't want to be around people that are doing things that are outside of the character realm that either I possess or I want to possess in the future. I don't like being around people who are lazy. I don't like being around people who are virtue signaling every time. They don't have a backbone. This comes in all colors. But over time, I have been more and more willing to separate myself from these people because they're toxic. And I hate to say this, but I find that I don't get along with more African-American people than anybody else. Not Africans, not black African people, or some black people that come from other countries, but it's black Americans that I tend to clash with more often than anybody else. And I don't like hanging around people that cannot have an intelligent conversation, people that cannot think for themselves. I don't like hanging around those people. And people so you have a valid idea to say, look, I don't want to hang around people like that. That's fine. Now, what you do about that is going to be the crux of your issues. Just because I don't like hanging around you, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to discriminate against you. I'm just going to remove myself from a situation that you're in part in. I'm not here to do nothing else. And I think when it comes to racism, if people say, look, I feel this certain way, but I'm not gonna put that on somebody else, and let God deal with you. So the crux of what I'm saying, go take it in full circle and bring it back so I can get up off this thing. It's to say that we're all Americans. We should love one another as God's children, and we should understand that racism in this country is literally on life support. That means that you are going to rarely experience real racism in your daily life in America. Rarely. Now, you perceive it to be, that's a different story. But real racism, meaning somebody discriminated against you because of the color of your skin alone, not because you're a dirtbag, not because you have a bad attitude, not because you're disrespectful, not because you're projecting on somebody else, meaning somebody following you around the store because they're a sales manager and you saying, oh, you follow me because I'm black. Or somebody pull you over because the officer is white, they just pull you over because you're black. Those are fake projections of racism. I'm talking about real, legitimate, discriminatory racism against you. You are going to rarely experience that. I am 34 years old. I grew up in Texas. I went to an all-black school. I also went to white schools. I went to college. I had my black friends on the team. The college was majority white. I have never in my life experienced true racism. I've only had a person make a racist comment against me while I was a police officer. One person that just said he didn't want a black person taking his call for service. One person. Didn't have no power over me. He just made a statement that didn't have no power. He cannot tell who gonna do the case report or not. And the white guy that was my partner, I almost beat him up over it. So just keep it real. Stop lying. Keep it real, and we will see a better country. Anyway, I love you guys. 20-minute video. I have my clips channel. So if you want to watch clips of some of my videos, because I do go on a little bit longer sometimes, you can watch it by going to my clips channel. It's called Tatum Clips. It's a shortened version of all of these videos that I make. But I love you guys. Appreciate you. See you on the next one. I'm out.